How you doing, everybody? John Arezzi here for Pro Wrestling Spotlight Live. It is April the 17th, 2021, and it's been a grueling few weeks with the launch of Matt Memories coming out on April the 6th. I have been just crazy. I've been all over the place. I haven't seen you guys in a while, but as you know, Matt Memories came out on April the 6th, and I have been doing a lot of press regarding the book. I mean, over the last several weeks, I mean, if you listen to any of the major podcasts, you probably heard me on the Jim Cornette Experience, which was off the chart. I mean, that was so much fun. And that really moved the needle for sales of the book. And it was great to have that conversation with Jim. But I was also on Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer Radio and Keeping It 100 with Conan. A new one just was uploaded yesterday, the Wrestling Epicenter, and so many others. And I want to thank everybody who has helped promote Matt Memories. It's been certainly a labor of love, but it has been grueling. I did a couple of book signings, a Wrestling Universe out in Comac. That was on April the 3rd, and that was really cool. I was able to be there with Ted DiBiase, Greg Valentine, Mike Rotunda, and also Brutus Beefcake, and was able to have dinner with $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Sunny Beach, who was there as well, who put it together and took us to this great restaurant, and we had a great time there. And then all the press in Nashville, television interviews and print interviews, and it's been quite a journey. And anyone who's gotten the book, Matt Memories, it's still really consistently the #1 new wrestling book in the country. Yesterday, we had 3 of the top 10 slots on the Amazon charts for wrestling, 1 for Kindle, 1 for the paperback, and then, of course, the audiobook, which comes out on May 11th. I finished recording that here in Nashville on Wednesday. So the schedule's been really grueling, and I certainly want to thank everybody again for picking up Matt Memories, and everybody who's gotten their copies and taken photographs and putting and posting the pictures of them with the book. It's just overwhelming for me, and it exceeded all expectations. I just had to reorder directly from ECW Press because I exhausted my original allotment that I'd purchased from them before the book came out. So there is a lot going on. And just before we get started, I'm going to bring Alex Robertson on here in just a second. There's so much news going on in wrestling as well. I have a couple of more appearances to announce, and I am going to be appearing at a convention, Superstars Fan Fest in Rome, Georgia. And what a lineup they have there. The 4 Horsemen are going to be there, which is Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham, J.J. Dillon, also Missy Hyatt, Tony Atlas, Lex Luger, Scott Hudson, Sergeant Slaughter, Ricky Steamboat, Bob Orton. And that's next Saturday, and that'll be in Rome, Georgia. And then on May the 1st, also on a Saturday, there's a grand opening. Our friends over at the Music City Toys and Collectibles is opening up a store, and I'll be appearing with Dan Severin here in Tennessee in Watertown, and that'll be on Saturday, on May the 1st. So lots going on, and let's see who we got here. Latte Dan Brown and Brian Buster, David, Steve Generelli. I mean, thank you all the regular listeners for being here today. Colton Scott, Ryan May, Facebook user. I always wonder who that is, but there's a few up there. We got a bunch of people out there joined us today, and I want to thank you all for coming on to hear our show today. And without further ado, and I'm trying to watch the Mets here as well. They're in Colorado playing a doubleheader. And so anyway, just very crazy busy today. Let's bring Alex Robertson on from SlamWrestling.net. Alex, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, John?
A little nuts, crazy, busy, and had my second COVID vaccination this past Monday. I had the Pfizer one, and with just a little soreness in the arm, but it was like nothing, So I'm fully vaccinated now, and that's why I'm going out there doing more and more of this stuff. I had gotten my first shot back in March and had to get the second one. So even these appearances I do, I still wear the mask and all of that. You still have to. Yeah. And you guys are on fire up there in a bad way.
Oh boy. I mean, I count myself lucky being in Quebec, where we're not in the worst situation. I think our neighbors in Ontario are in a little bit worse situation than we are. But I mean, our vaccination rollout has been going very, very well over the last couple of weeks. Anyway, I think we actually hit a record this past week for the amount of vaccinations that were administered. So that's awesome. I'm going to be in that group that goes last. So as many people that can go before me and get vaccinated so we can all get out of this and open up the borders, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we want those borders open. We want the country open here in America, and we just want to try to get back to normal as much as we can. And it's been dragging on, and it's like you get fatigued from it. You really do. But for you being as young as you are, you have to wait until the end, So I'm sure you're going stir crazy. You got to be going stir crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fun. I mean, I think I only see 2 people a week because I live alone. I see my mom and my boyfriend. That's about it. And it kind of sucks. I mean, I haven't really been getting to see my friends and the rest of my family. A lot of my family too lives in the States. So we've all been kind of isolated, but honestly, I'm not in an at-risk group. So for anybody who's in an at-risk group and can go and get it, go and get it. I will happily wait at the back of the line. Yeah.
I mean, just left New York less than a week ago, and there's still a lot of people up in the New York area. Just, they don't want to take it. They're just not going to take it. So I think it is everybody's personal choice. At the end of the day, but with the hundreds, over 100 million here now getting at least one of the shots, 50% of the adult population here in the United States has gotten at least one shot. So hopefully this thing is a light at the end of the tunnel, as they say, and we're going to get back to normal, because I want to start going to wrestling conventions.
Oh my gosh, me too. Me too. Yeah.
And there were so many, and now I got a book to promote and other things that I'm doing, and so I'm testing the waters, with this first convention next week in Rome, Georgia, and I'm looking forward to that. But I want to start going to these, and they're everywhere. And then, of course, as I was talking to you off air about, Weekend of Champions was the granddaddy. It started it all back in the day in 1990, and had some really good meetings in New York while I was up there about a Weekend of Champions reunion in 2022. So I want to let everybody here on this stream know that keep your ears open, and before you know it, hopefully by the summertime, we'll be announcing something that I've been in the planning stages on with some people for a while, and now it looks like it's starting to come together. And I want to make it the biggest wrestling convention ever, and a lot of different elements to it. So more to come on that, but that's going to be a major undertaking for me, and it's 30 years that we did this thing. The biggest one was 1991. So 30 years ago, 1991, we did Flair and Rogers. But next year, what we're talking about is going to blow everything out of the water. So we'll see. I guess there has been some wrestling news.
I mean,
Hold on a second. Wait, before you start, Brian Phillip, I like this idea. Dunk tank with the Power Twins.
Oh.
Alex, you'll be there, of course.
Of course.
Let's dunk them in the water. They need it.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm sorry about that. I saw that comment and I was like, "That's really cool." Really, really cool. I really would do that myself. I'd throw a ball and just dunk those guys. Anyway, lots going on. Big week, big few weeks. Started all off. What do we got?
I mean, listen, last week leading up to WrestleMania, I thought it was hectic. I, of course, was doing this podcast. I had some other media stuff that I had to do within my own city. And I thought it's 1 week. And then after that, it's all going to slow down. Boy, was I wrong. I think the first thing we need to start off with are the WWE releases that came out yesterday. Now, I'll read off the list of the ones that are on the WWE's website anyway. And when I was reading it, it was like the 10 bell salute was going off in my head. None of them are dead, but that's how morbid it felt. Because I couldn't believe some of these names. Samoa Joe, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, formerly the Iconics, Mickie James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, who was with Otis in a tag team, Kalisto, Mojo Rawley, Bo Dallas, who is the Fiend Bray Wyatt's brother, Wesley Blake, and those are all the ones that I have as of now. I mean, I'm surprised by some of them. I think the one that everyone is surprised by is probably Samoa Joe, just because he was on TV so much as a commentator, and I thought he was doing an amazing job. I thought, you know what, if this is the way that they're going to go, because he can't wrestle, because he was injured.
Yeah, what's going on with the injury? Do you? Did you know what happened to him? Why he stepped away?
I think from what I remember, it was a knee injury.
Okay,
and those are never fun to come back from. It usually takes a long time, and I don't know the extent of the injury. I guess, since they put him on commentary and they weren't kind of building him up any sort of way, I thought this is where they're going to leave him. Like maybe he can't wrestle anymore altogether. And I thought, well, if they're going to do anything with him, might as well leave him there. And over the course of the year, at least since the pandemic's been going on, I thought he was doing a great job. And then, we start after WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, which is kind of like a new season. It was, I thought, they're just going to continue having him there. And then they bring this other guy on, Adnan Kirk, who I had never heard of before, because he was on MSNBC, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't watch him on there. And he was covering a whole bunch of sports that I don't pay attention to. So I guess if anybody knows him, it's probably from those sports. But I thought he did an okay job, but I still think they're missing a huge void with Samoa Joe there.
And he was really good. He was probably my favorite announcer of that trio.
Absolutely. And then we hear that Corey Graves is also moving to Raw. He was previously on SmackDown with Michael Cole, and there was only 2 of them. And now we have Pat McAfee on SmackDown with Michael Cole. And at first, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm not really a huge fan of Pat McAfee, to be honest with you. I started listening to his podcast a few months ago, and I couldn't even get through it because I can't stand his voice. I don't know. Maybe it's just me coming from the radio world, and I'm very used to, hearing certain kind of voices and how they're soothing or not so soothing, or if they sound good or they don't sound good. And I just find that he has a very annoying voice to me. So I was trying to watch SmackDown before, and it was hard to get through it. I think he did an okay job for what he has to do, but it's kind of disappointing that they're making all of these changes. And I think it's just going to take time for people to get used to, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah. McMahon, typically, I guess WrestleMania, as soon as that's over with, and he always makes some cuts. There's always, it happens. But this year seemed to be extensive, the amount of cuts that were made. And when you talk about a company, I guess to let people go in the middle of a pandemic, I don't know what their financial terms were when they exited or what their non-compete was. I heard that everyone could start competing again with other organizations as early as July. Mm-hmm. But it's still a tough, it's a tough situation to watch, especially when he just got, $1 billion deal with Peacock and the other 2 major money makers for him, the Fox TV, still $1 billion there, and USA. Mm-hmm. And they made a lot of money last year. Their profits were through the roof because they didn't have those expenditures for live shows. But you get sad when you see it. And Mickie James is a class act. I mean, she is a Hall of Famer. And I'm probably going to be getting together with her next week with Nick because they're here in Nashville, and we were communicating over the last 24 hours. And her publicist, Don Murray Grubbs, is the same one that I work with here in Nashville. So we're going to get together next week. And I really think that was a bad spot because she was really hoping to be one of the producers there for some of the women's matches. That was what she was thinking. And now.
Yeah, I mean, and that one kind of surprised me too, because on NXT Stand and Deliver, their pay-per-view last week, she was on it. She was on their pre-show. And I mean, she was actually on commentary for one of their matches. And I thought, well, this is a good fit. Like maybe that's what they're going to transition her to do. And I guess not. And to your, I was along the same thinking as you. She would fit so well as a producer, which is why, if you're thinking of that kind of role for her, I'm hoping she finds that elsewhere, because I think she could be a really, really big asset, especially to a company like AEW that's so new, and their women's division does need help in terms of creativity. So I think that might work too. Who knows? I mean, it's going to take some time, but I'm hoping that's where it goes. Yeah.
Very, very true. But as Dan Brown was saying here, they did have a record quarterly profit.
Yeah.
It is, it's sad to see, but it happens. And Mickie, I think, is going to land on her feet, whether it is with an AEW or even NWA, where her husband is still world champion, I believe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So she'll land on her feet, and she has she's a great recording artist as well. So she's done some pretty incredible things. I've known Mickie for many, many years now, and she's a good person, and I wish her the best, of course.
Yeah, and it's just like the Iconics too. It was I was talking to a few of my other wrestling friends about this. That doesn't make sense to me, because they broke them up for a reason. They broke up the Iconics for a reason, and it was to give them singles runs. And then after you fail to give them a proper singles run, you fire them. So it's basically like you're firing them for your own mistake. And I think it would only work in their favor if they were hired together back as a tag team. And everyone likes to say, AEW is the place where all of the WWE releases go. I don't necessarily think that's true. And I don't necessarily think that that's where they would end up anyway, because there's no women's tag team division there, really. So I think if they're going to go somewhere where they're going to be valued, I think they should go to somewhere like Impact, who has just started up their Knockouts tag team division that's really on fire right now. And I could see them, being title holders and being leaders in that division. So that's what I'm hoping. But overall, I'm just hoping that all of these wrestlers land on their feet somewhere.
Yeah, it's true. But and once the pandemic allows crowds again for indie shows, these people are going to get called first, because of their TV and because of their recognition. And so, I mean, and then, look at the bright side. They could all go on Cameo again now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And keep their money.
Well, I was telling our listeners last week that I found it kind of ironic, because the WWE had a partnership with Cameo the week of WrestleMania. So I thought, well, that's strange. Like, why would they do that? But yet they're not going to allow their stars, their superstars, to do it on their own, because they want to control the money that's coming in, right? So they're saying, well, obviously they're going to be able to make money on these third-party sites, but let's control it ourselves. Thought that was kind of interesting too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I know on your long list, what else is happening?
I mean, the fallout from WrestleMania. I mean, I watched both shows live, and I don't know if you did, but I did. I thought they were two really good nights. I thought they put on a decent show, and I don't know if that's because there was a crowd, so it made it a little bit more exciting, but I thoroughly enjoyed both nights.
I really, really enjoyed night one. I thought night number one was just, with the matches, the finishes that were taking place, the fact that there was live people there, the presentation. I didn't enjoy night two as much as night one. But I certainly have to give the show a thumbs up. as a collective show. And having WrestleMania over 2 nights rather than one, I think that formula works, because who wants to see a 5 or 6 or 7 hour show? We've seen that before. But I think night one was just top to bottom. It was really a spectacular night. And night two, above average still. And it's funny because, these TV shows, the Raw, the SmackDown, they drag on every week. You have to slog through them. But these 2 WrestleManias, I mean, everyone was on their game, and there were some surprises. There were some emotional moments. Bianca Belair and Sasha was just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that they definitely made history as women, and as women of color.
Yes.
They definitely made history, and they put on a fantastic match. What a way to end off night one of WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was a fitting finish, and it was a historic night.
Definitely. And I think one of the matches that stood out more or less on night one was Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre, because I really thought that this was going to be Drew's chance to win the title in front of a crowd, because he didn't get to do that last year at WrestleMania. And I thought this is going to be his chance. Sadly, I was mistaken. But he, you know what? They put on a really good match, and I'm happy with the way it went. And we actually saw on Raw, the Raw after Mania, that they're going to have a rematch. And that was the main event. That was what the whole show was around on Monday Night Raw, was who was going to be Bobby Lashley's next opponent. And it was going to be between Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, or Randy Orton. And it ended up being Drew McIntyre once again. And he will go up against Bobby Lashley for the title at WWE WrestleMania Backlash.
Yes.
Not Backlash.
No, now it's WrestleMania Backlash. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I was happy to see, and everyone has their own opinions, but I was happy to see Bobby retain the title. I think his title reign was certainly long overdue, and he's a believable champion. He really is. And he's kind of that monster heel that I hope they give him a decent run with the title. As much as I like Drew as well, I think Drew is a great performer. But I think Bobby never really had in the WWE anyway, he never really had that push that he deserved. And now he does. So I just hope that they keep the title on him for a while and let him go through some people, and then build up something, down the road for SummerSlam, where he can, have maybe a switch of the title at that point. My personal opinion, if I was the booker. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think one match that I wanted to ask you about was, what did you think of the Randy Orton versus the Fiend match? Because I know what your thoughts are on the Fiend, but what did you think of that match?
Well, short and sweet, I guess it was, when it comes down to it. And the Alexa Bliss, whatever was shooting out of her foreheads, the black blood or goo. I love Alexa Bliss's character. I think it was great. And now, I mean, it was just kind of, it started off good, because I love Firefly Funhouse. I mean, I really did when it started, and then they turned it too extreme, and I thought the character was really dark. But and even when he wrestled as the Fiend, but then, after you burn somebody to a crisp in the middle of the ring, then it loses everything. Then it's like it loses it all. I mean, then I lost it. But now he's back. He's back in the Firefly Funhouse. Like, he's there as Bray Wyatt again, and he looked like he had a little bit of an evangelist nature, trying to heal some of the little puppets that he had in there. And Alexa, she turned on him. I guess that wasn't really that clear to me when that happened, that it was actually Alexa distracting him. Yeah. And now it seems like she's turned on him. And what's going to happen with her? Because now she's got a new doll on a swing next to her. I think Alexa Bliss is a great performer. This is kind of extreme. It's a little over the top. If they would have reeled it in a little, I could have tolerated it more. But once you burn somebody up, then once you start shooting fire into somebody's eyes, and then, of course, Randy comes back and there's no burn mark. There's, it's just like, it's just too B movie, campy, horror flick, low budget bullshit.
Yeah, no, I see that. I do see that. I don't really know where the whole Alexa Bliss character is going to go from here. As she was doing her promo on Monday Night Raw, I was trying to think, well, where are they going to take this now? Like, I don't understand where this is going, and I don't understand what this doll is going to do. I don't get it. Is this going to turn into an actual person? Are we going to, is this how we're going to see an introduction of a new superstar? Like, I don't get it.
I'm sure just a handful know right at this point, and
yeah,
they're counting their money right now.
Yeah. But I know that you said that like night 2 wasn't that exciting. The one match that I found wasn't that exciting to me anyway was the last one, the triple threat match. It was a good match. Don't get me wrong, it was a good match. I don't like seeing Roman Reigns win all the time. How many times have we seen him at a pay-per-view and he's winning all of the time? I didn't think that, there was a chance Daniel Bryan wasn't going to win because I know he wants to retire. And Edge, we don't really know what his story is yet. We know he won the Royal Rumble, but we don't know if he's going to stay. So I thought, okay, like there's a chance that he's going to retain, but could you really find nobody else to carry the Universal Championship?
I wanted to see Daniel Bryan. I thought that would have been a real good sentimental thing, and that's what some people were hoping for. But I was not enamored with the finish, especially when he pinned them both. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It was reminiscent of 1978 when Dusty Rhodes sat on my head as I was lying on top of Savannah Sousa. It gave me a flashback.
Well, that would have been a sight to see, John.
Oh, absolutely. Jared England had a comment, and I'd like to get your opinion on Bad Bunny. That was a surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah. So last weekend on the podcast, I was saying how I don't normally like to see celebrities get in the ring because it's often a moot point. Like, there's no real reason for them to be there. It's just a way to draw more eyes from the mainstream audience. Yeah. But I thought that Bad Bunny actually put on a great performance. He clearly showed that he had put time in the ring and that he is an actual fan of the product. So that makes it that much more exciting. And although he didn't, I think John Morrison and The Miz had to carry him a little bit, which is understandable considering Bad Bunny is not a wrestler. But I thought that for somebody who kind of just came in here in the last couple of months, he did a pretty good job.
I believe so, too. I think he did. And he worked and he did a decent job. He had a great showing. And it surprised me on how good it actually was.
Yeah. Booker T actually referred to him as a WWE superstar.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to know what the big legends thought, that's a pretty high compliment coming from somebody like Booker.
Yeah, and I think The Miz and Morrison were the perfect opponents for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they were.
Definitely. So. Well, those were basically all my thoughts. I mean, all the other matches were good. General sense of the both nights were fine. I was happy with it. I like you. I'm happy with the 2-night format because I don't want to watch WrestleMania for 5 hours, especially when it goes into midnight. I find that very annoying. Yeah. But it looks like for next year, regardless of what happens with this pandemic, they're going to go back to the 1-night formula.
Oh, really? You've heard that already?
That's what's being rumored. I don't necessarily think that's the right decision, but I think that's what they're going to do.
That is sick. Yeah, there you go. Let me bring Brock in. That would be amazing. But 1-night WrestleMania, Texas next year. Is that what it is?
Dallas, yes.
And then Hollywood in 2 years?
That's right.
So by next year, this pandemic hopefully is going to give us the opportunity all to get together in Texas.
Maybe. I mean, I know that within the next 2 years, I would like to go to WrestleMania. So if the world would like to be in our favor and everyone gets back to normal, I'd love to make that happen. Yeah.
What part of the country here does some of your family live?
I have family in Georgia, in Atlanta. Actually, a lot of my dad's family is down there. I have a few in Florida and some in California as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Well, next year we'll meet in person.
Hopefully, I was thinking if all of, went well this year, and I only thought about this because I got a notification for it in my email this week, the Cauliflower Alley Club would have been a perfect opportunity for everyone to get back together from, the last year. But it doesn't look like, I said to myself, the only way that I would go to a bigger event like that and get on an airplane for that matter is if I'm vaccinated. And I just don't know if I'm going to be vaccinated in time to make that trip. And
really?
I don't even know because the deadline's getting closer. But again, I'm at the back of the line. So I don't know if by the time I get even my first dose, I don't know that I'm going to be able to make that date. And I don't know if the borders are going to be open by then. So
true. That's very true. I mean, every country is different too. And CAC reunion, I think, has been rescheduled till September this year. Is that correct?
Mid-September. Yeah.
Mid-September. Yeah. And that's still iffy, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still keeping it, in mind. And if I can make it happen, I'm definitely going to go, but we'll see. It's a wait and see kind of decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So we also have some new television starting tomorrow.
We do. A&E is starting a documentary on some WWE superstars of the past. And it should be kind of interesting because A&E is doing it as opposed to just the WWE. And from a lot of the promos that I'm seeing, we're diving into, it's like beyond necessarily like the dark side of the ring. It's going into the stuff that the WWE doesn't really want to shine the light on. Drug abuse, mental issues. I think that's a lot of, what we're going to see. I do have some names of the people that they're going to focus on.
Yeah, I got a list too. So, because I have been in conversations with them.
Yeah.
About because advertising rates, well, mostly for Vice TV and Dark Side of the Ring, because the episode with the Confidential that Conrad Thompson hosts with Evan and Jason, the creators, airs on April the 27th. So I'm buying a few commercials for Matt Memories, the book, in that show. And so the account executive I'm working with, I'll tip you off on something which is crazy here because of this biography series and also the Most Wanted Treasures. They're getting like $20,000 a 30-second commercial on the new A&E show, where the Dark Side is much more affordable, like way more affordable. Of course, they're anticipating a big audience for these, and they have these in the advertising terminology, you buy a demographic, for example, and they guarantee the impressions or the CPMs. And when I got the rates the other day for, because I said, throw those rates in, let me just see. And then when I saw them, I was like, I told the account executive, there's absolutely no way I'm staying with the Vice TV deal. But yeah, tell me what you got, and I have a complete list here. So if you miss any, then I'll fill it in.
Sure. So it starts tomorrow, April 18th. So the first one's going to be Stone Cold, Steve Austin. The following week, we have Randy Savage, and then Roddy Piper, Booker T, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, which I'm going to love, Mick Foley, and then The Ultimate Warrior.
Yes, I think the last one they're doing is on June 6th, and that's Hart. So Ultimate Warrior is on the 30th of May. Mick Foley's the 23rd of May. Shawn Michaels the 16th. Booker T the 9th. Randy Savage's is on 5/2, April 2nd. Piper is the second show, and then they kick it off with Stone Cold. And then Most Wanted Treasures is another one of these shows will be back to back.
Yeah.
So they're doing a number of those. And I've been in conversations with the producers because they're doing an Andre the Giant episode, looking for Andre's treasures. And so they're interested in using my match, the match I filmed of his debut at Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll work out. Hopefully it'll work out. The financials have got to be the financials. Because you just don't want to, it's like they think you just give them stuff. I mean,
Yeah, no.
So that's not going to happen. So these two shows, I'm going to watch them with interest,
Absolutely.
and then of course you have Vice, Dark Side of the Ring kicking up again with two separate seasons, really. I mean, Dark Side kicks off in May, and then it has a total of 14 episodes this year. So they'll do 7 consecutively. They'll take a break and then come back in August with the second half of the 3rd season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of stuff on wrestling. And if you don't like the product in the ring, you can just watch some of this stuff and lose yourself in some of the behind the scenes stuff with what's coming up. So if you're a wrestling fan out there, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with everything that we already have to watch, I mean, I have to watch wrestling like it's a full-time job now.
You do,
yeah, because every day from Monday to Friday, there's something. And then if there's a pay-per-view, it's a 6th day of wrestling. So every single day there's something. But of course, these two documentaries series plus Dark Side of the Ring is obviously very intriguing. So we'll sprinkle some of that in there.
Yeah. So what else you got news-wise? Is that it?
That's really all the big stuff that came out this week. The only other thing to mention for everybody who watches Impact, talk about releases. They just released Nevaeh, who had been on their roster for quite some time, and she kind of just said they're parting ways. She didn't really say where she's going. So we wish her all the best, and maybe we'll see her pop up somewhere like AEW on their dark shows. Who knows?
Yeah, well, you've been really incredible here, and I want to thank you for the last for filling in for me during the travels, and it's that time of the show where typically I would say goodbye to you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to now. We're going to talk about basically the scheduling of this show, and the work that you've put into it, and with the schedule that I have now. I mean, next week is a wrestling convention, so I'm not going to be here. The following week is another appearance, and then I got to go up to New York and pack and move. I mean, the place where I stay up in New York, I rented for the last three years in the same house my sister rents with my nephew upstairs. So we had the clubhouse is what we called it, and we broadcast from there. But the person who owned the house decided to sell it. So I have to now pack up and get out of there by June 1st. So it is. It's bittersweet for me because that was an affordable place to stay with my family. And when the pandemic started, I was there for 4 months in a row. I mean, I was just there. And now the fact that my sister and my nephew have to find a place. Inventory on Long Island is horrible, and for me. It's just it's kind of devastating that I have to get up and leave the clubhouse, and the house will be gone. And so anyway, what I'm trying to get to is that because of my schedule, I'm not going to be able to do this show over the next several weeks. And of course, with what you have going on in your life, it makes it very difficult. And we certainly appreciate, everybody that's been here watching this. I mean, this really started as a kind of a shits and giggles thing with my nephew and I, where we're, during the second week of the pandemic, and it turned into this weekly thing. And we've had incredible guests here like Mick Foley and the guys from Dark Side of the Ring, and Conan and Sean Waltman and Bill Apter. I mean, on and on and on. We've had some really incredible guests on this thing, but we really never had enough to grow the audience here. So, I mean, literally, as far as this show on a regular basis, because of the commitments that you have and everything that you have to do, and because of what's going on in my life right now with the appearances and now moving, and so I wouldn't even be able to even do this until sometime in June. I hate to tell everybody, but we're going to have to pull the plug on this for now. Not, everyone is saying please don't go, and I'm going to get a little emotion here, but it's not. I hate to say it's not goodbye forever. Because I think if we can do a special every month, bring on some quality guests, because I certainly don't have the Rolodex I did. I'm starting to get names again. I'm starting to get my connections again. But I think compelling for me and for you is to, bring on people we could have conversations with, and then really, provide the viewers some real interesting guests to talk about. So I hate to say it, but I mean, this is kind of going to be it for a while today.
Yeah. Yeah. It was certainly a lot of fun for me too. Even from the beginning, it's always landlord turn. Yeah, it's been fun talking about wrestling. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate that. I've
that
loved
was good, man. You're really good. And we talked off air a little while ago. You are going to land a big job in this business someday. I think as soon as this pandemic is over with and you're able to network yourself a little bit more than staying in your place, and you like you said, you don't leave there, you see 2 people a week. I think I think that there's a big future for you. I mean, you're really, at your age and the things you've accomplished, there is a lot in your future. And I know, because I have discovered, big stars, recording artists.
Yeah.
And when someone has that it factor, that indelible it factor. And I see the same thing with you, because I've seen the growth of you. Just like you're saying, this is kind of good practice for you to come on and have conversations, and sometimes with just dozens of people listening rather than thousands of people listening, but we enjoy every single one of them. But you have, since you've been affiliated with this program, thanks to Greg Oliver making that suggestion from Slam Wrestling, you have done an incredible job filling people in on the news, and you just have a great presence, and you have a great passion for wrestling. And I really feel that someday, sooner rather than later, you're going to be with a big promotion, and you're going to be one of those people behind the scenes and on the air in a wrestling federation and an organization that's going to be able to make that star rise.
Thank you. Well, I know, we just said that there's, we may not have thousands and thousands of viewers, but if anybody, WWE, AEW, anybody's listening, anybody ever hears this, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, you are ready. You are.
But this isn't the last time you guys are going to hear me, because I did start a new partnership. We do have another podcast partnership at Slam that we just started, not as regular as what I do with John, of course, but it's called Sunday Night's Main Event. We just started doing it. It's basically a roundtable with some of my other colleagues from Slam, and we go over things that happened during the week. They are on the airwaves in Canada here. We do have it on TSN 690, which is our sports station in Montreal, and the one in Toronto. So we are doing that too. So it's not the last you're going to hear of me, but I'm definitely going to be missing doing this podcast with you, John. It's been really fun going back and forth.
Oh yeah, it's been an amazing time. And like I said, I mean, we can put on a special anytime. I mean, anytime we get a guest, or it's like, all right, as long as we have several days to let people know that we'll be back and doing a special, let's kind of say that. Let's not, as they say, shut the light and lock the door. Let's kind of keep that door ajar and the dimmer on. So, let's just not say totally goodbye to everybody. And I certainly plan on, if I could get some good guests as well to come on and do a special, because, anything can happen. We're getting a lot of comments about the Patreon. I'm still going to have the Patreon, the Pro Wrestling Spotlight podcast, Pro Wrestling Spotlight Then and Now, that I do with Brian Last each and every week, is continuing. We're taping a new episode tomorrow. We just dropped a best of with some of the classic early moments of the show. And the Patreon show is going to continue, that for patrons, patreon.com/Arezi, $5 a month. And you get the archives of all the Pro Wrestling Spotlight radio shows from April 9th, 1989 to the one we're currently on, February 1991. And we still have we have another 3 years of shows. What was it? 91, 2, 3. We have 4 years of shows to go.
Wow.
So we're not going anywhere with the podcast. I love doing that each and every week. Every Sunday at noon, Brian and I tape a new one, and we're getting into the most pivotal year of Pro Wrestling Spotlight from 1991. This year, 30 years ago, 1991, I meet Vince Russo. The Scandals hit. Weekend of Champions with Ric Flair. All of that stuff happens this year. So Pro Wrestling Spotlight then and now is not going anywhere. The Patreon page is still going to be there. You'll be hearing about me. I mean, all you got to do is just kind of do a search engine on my name right now, and you could hear so many interviews that I've done in the last 30 days that I feel like I'm a pro at that now. But this show it has a soft place in my heart. It really does, because of the devoted people who come each and every week, and when you don't give them what they expect to have, which is a regular show, then it's then you get frustrated too. Yeah. So I mean, it's not really fair to everybody to say, all right, I'm not going to be here and for the next 3 or 4 weeks. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job filling in. So let's, like I said, we're not going to say, we're not going to say goodbye, but we'll see you again when we have something cool to bring you. How's that sound?
Definitely, 100%.
Okay. So I'm going to sign off with you, Alex, now, and with everybody tonight. We're, it's not a full hour unless, unless we have any special guests coming up. I don't think so. We have already talked to Greg before, but it's been a pleasure. I mean, for the last year we've been doing this. We'll be back. Alex, we'll be in touch with each other, obviously, and continue all the great stuff that you do with slamwrestling.net. And you're one of the brightest stars out there when it comes to reporting. And we're going to keep watching your rocket rise.
Thank you so much. And thank you to so many of you who are writing on the chat and saying that you liked the segment and you like when I fill in for John and keeping you guys informed. I really appreciate that.
Yes. And Pro Wrestling Spotlight then and now is not going away. We got 4 more years to go. So there you have it. All right, everybody. Listen, till next time we see you, this is John Arezzi and Alex Robertson. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all sometime in the near future. Take care.